Hi, folks. Welcome to Libertathius. I'm Adam.
And I'm Lisa.
And we're here to answer questions that explore the ideas behind libertarianism and atheism.
As ex-Mormon atheists, we want to show people that there's meaning and happiness in the world outside of religion, and even away from God.
And as minarchist libertarians, we want to show people how the government's role should be limited to protecting our natural rights.
And today's episode's going to be a special one because it's based on this current event that's happened over the past week.
That's right.
As far as YouTube and BitChute, I'm going to be uploading this episode out of order. So I'm getting back into making videos for our earlier episodes, and I'm moving forward with that. I'm skipping the order. I'm going to put this in now because it's such a current event, and then I'll continue on with where I left off in the videos.
Okay, good. Yeah, when we talk about natural rights, that's something that is in our intro. It's something that we want to address because it's something that is so simple. It's such an easy idea to wrap your head around. And yet, we seem to always find reasons to set them aside. And we are very good at allowing our government in particular to trample on these things in probably the name of a greater good, right? This is not the kind of topic that I am used to, going in on and voicing off on. I guess part of it is, I am not black. I don't know. I, in a way, feel less qualified, but at the same time, I feel like the desire is for all of us to say something. And I think it's important that, we have a show and we are supposed to be giving our opinions on things like politics. And so anyway, sorry. Just trying to think of a way to come in. We've made all these efforts to make a more positive, happy show. And it's, I don't know if there's a way to do that with this topic.
No, not really.
And that's okay. We don't always have to be happy, We're
not.
But we're not.
This is another exception to, the new positive format that we've been trying to go for. We're talking about George Floyd's death in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And, what led up to that, what happened, and sort of the aftermath, what's going on right now.
So we've had many stories in the past about unarmed black men being killed by policemen.
White policemen, especially. Those are the ones that definitely make the news. Yeah.
So I think part of that is we accept that in our society there is a certain amount of violence and there is a certain amount of crime. But we should be holding police to a higher standard. And I think that the opposite has really happened, right? I think what we've really seen is policemen having greater power and greater privilege as opposed to greater responsibility, right? They're like the anti-Spider-Man, right? It's like, with great power comes great power. And that's about the end of it.
Right.
So anyway, originally we were going to do a totally different topic, and then this really started dominating the airwaves. I watched that video that you linked to me where it shows the whole 9-minute death.
Yeah, it's the full. One of my friends found it for me. I first saw it in parts. I could only find parts of the video, but he found the whole thing for me. And the entire video is over 10 minutes long, and it starts off where it shows George Floyd on the ground. He's in handcuffs right next to a police car, and 3 officers are holding him down. And one of them, his name was Derek Chauvin. He has his knee on George Floyd's neck. Mm-hmm. And there's a 4th officer who is standing there, and he's keeping people back. He's keeping them from getting too close and from trying to interfere with what the police officer's doing.
I'm not sure who irritated me more when I watched that. I felt so furious the whole time. It was sickening. It was infuriating.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. It made me sad. It made me angry. It made me anxious. But there were so many times I sat there and I wanted to pause it and take a break, or I wanted to close it. And I was like, you know what? After everything this guy went through, the very, very least I could do is endure the video. Like, if you feel like watching the video was an eternity, and it felt that way, you know, now imagine being the guy and having a knee pressed down on your neck,
right,
with your face down in the pavement. How much infinitely more difficult is that?
Right. Well, and what's really infuriating, you know, on top of all that, is that for the last half of the video, George Floyd was unconscious, but Derek Chauvin kept his knee on his neck. And that's when the people who were watching it, the ones who were filming it and the ones next to her, they were getting angrier because they're like, he is unconscious. Get your knee off his neck.
Yeah, I think one of them was like a firefighter. I think she was like off duty or something.
Yeah, she said that. She said she was I don't know if it was a firefighter or a first responder or something, but she was yelling at them to check his pulse, and they didn't. Derek Chauvin didn't get his knee off of George Floyd's neck until the EMTs arrived.
Well, and you know, they had to like tap him and say, dude, you need to get off. Like, they had to tap his knee like we've got it now. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely sickening.
It was. But we're going to be linking all of these videos that we're talking about on the Facebook post and in the description beneath the YouTube video. So you can see the full video if you haven't seen it yet. You know, you can see other stuff that we'll be talking about too. But I've heard that he died in the hospital, that he didn't die there on the scene. But the police officers didn't check his pulse. I don't think the EMTs checked his pulse. They just put him on the gurney, still in handcuffs, by the way. They didn't even undo the handcuffs to put him in the ambulance.
Well, the autopsy that they did, which is questionable, you know, they said, well, technically he didn't die from having a knee on his neck. He died from underlying health issues that were complicated by having a knee on your neck. And and it's like, well, you know, is that different? Does that make any real difference? Well, of course, they're trying to cover each other because all these guys work with each other. They're all like, they know each other. They have to see each other again.
Right.
You know, cops, judges, the coroners, you know, they're all just part of the same network. And, you know, the charge that came, what was it, 36 hours later?
No. 36 hours later, the mayor called for Derek Chauvin to be charged because he still hadn't been. So this happened Monday, the 25th of May. It was Memorial Day. Right. And as of Wednesday, the 27th, he still hadn't been charged with anything. That's what people were even more upset about, is that anybody else, I think the mayor even said this in the press conference. He's like, if anyone else had done this, we would be in jail right now and charged with, you know, probably first-degree murder. Who knows? But as of Wednesday, 36 hours after it happened, still nothing. He was in his house and he hadn't been arrested. He hadn't been charged with anything. And that's when the protests really started. It was when he was still walking free. There was some people who were like, you know, why didn't they just go to Derek Chauvin's house, you know, and get him? And then I saw a video where, no, they did do that. There were about 75 police officers outside of Derek Chauvin's house protecting him because there was an angry mob outside the house. Mm-hmm. And the mob probably would have dragged him out and probably killed him, to be honest.
Probably. And it's also worth noting that a lot of these guys, a lot of these cops that do these things, they do end up essentially getting away with it.
Yeah, technicalities. And the mayor was trying to be very careful when he had that first press conference on Wednesday. People were asking him specifics and he's like, I don't want to compromise this investigation. And so I can't answer that question. He was very straightforward with it.
Sure. At the same time, it's like, I think part of the frustration that everybody feels, it's like, and look, as a libertarian, I'm into due process and all that fun stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But holy crap, what evidence are you looking for? You know what I mean? When you watch this video, it's not just the emotional response. You can set emotion aside and you can be like, objectively, I just witnessed a murder.
Right.
And I can't believe, I mean, I can believe, unfortunately, but, you know, they came back with a 3rd-degree murder charge. Which
that was on Friday. That was on Friday, the 29th. It took 4 days.
So it took 4 days to come up with he didn't do it on purpose?
Yeah,
what?
That it was 3rd-degree murder and manslaughter.
Yeah.
That's what he's been charged with.
Objectively false.
I don't know. The video that you linked, it's a guy who's discussing it, and he says, yeah, I think that's the correct charge, as opposed to 2nd or 1st-degree murder, based on the descriptions of what qualifies. So he said...
You can make the case.
Yeah.
You can make the case. I think that's where, like, legal jargon fails to, like, do what it's, like, designed to do. I don't know. Maybe it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. Who knows? But, you know, it's just like, if Derek Chauvin accidentally murdered him, then he's the most incompetent person that ever existed. Like, dude, it cannot be the same thing. If a teenager is, like, driving down the street, he's listening to his music, he's, like, thinking about his girlfriend, he checks his phone, and he runs over a kid. Mm-hmm. That's 3rd-degree murder, right? That's manslaughter. Like, you screwed up, your intent was not to murder. That's different if you drive into a school zone blindfolded at full speed. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that this is closer to that kind of scenario. So I kind of like 2nd a little bit better, but not everyone even does 2nd. And like, it's a lot more gray as to how you interpret it. Personally, and maybe this is a bit emotional, but I would give him 1st-degree. To me, it seemed like the goal was kill him. And I believe that he intentionally did so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he was trying to kill him. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yep, that's something that's going to have to be figured out. But, you know, Derek Chauvin's finally been arrested back on Friday. Took 4 days, you know, like we said. Yeah. His wife has filed for divorce.
Good call. You know, honestly, you always hear that, maybe it's a trope or a stereotype that, like, living with a cop is particularly difficult.
It's a stereotype that police officers beat their wives. Right. It's true in many cases. It is certainly not true for everybody, but that is a stereotype.
I don't know, but I feel like this was one of the reasons, right? Nah. Just for, you know, and I can't prove that, but no. when you watch this asshole kneel on Floyd's neck, he doesn't care. He is completely devoid of any emotion. He is cold. He's dead inside. This guy is like every bad thing that you think a cop is. You know? So I don't know what he was like in his home life.
Yeah. I'm not going to speculate, but it was, I mean, I think that this is, even if this was the only thing, it's enough.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I just doubt it is. But you're right. I can't prove it. No. But either way, she's getting out. Probably the right call.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he'll be in jail anyway. So it's like, well, why hang around anyway? It'll be, what did you say? Like 25 years?
Yeah, it's like 25, up to 25.
For 3rd-degree murder. Yeah.
Up to 25. So it's enough to ruin your life. But like, it's like, holy crap. Yeah. Do you think you would even see the full 25? I doubt it. Honestly, I think there's a good chance he doesn't see much at all.
I don't know. Oh, so the next day when that video was released, so Philip DeFranco covered this. So the title is called Disgusting. We need to talk about what happened to George Floyd, what we know and what happens next. And so he covers it. And he said that when the police initially released a statement about what happened, it was something completely whitewashed. It had hardly any details about what happened at all. And that was on Monday. And so on Tuesday, this video went viral where it shows like, actually, this is what happened. Yeah, so Philip DeFranco covers that as well in his video. So if you want to take a look at that, we'll have that linked below.
Yeah, he does a really good job. I mean, it's sad that he's kind of like one of the most reliable journalists out there. You know what I mean?
No, he's good.
Like the fact that you have to give me that like live leak or whatever it was, the link you gave me to watch the full video.
Yes.
How come CNN, Fox, MSNBC, they don't just have it?
Mm-hmm. Right?
Like, what are you doing? How come we can't watch this? Now, they've been covering it.
Yes.
But they haven't been, they didn't just say, hey, by the way, on our YouTube, here's a full 9-minute clip.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of frustration towards the media as well that's happening here. It's not the primary source, but definitely I think there was a CNN headquarters that was vandalized. Yeah, they all suck. They all suck. I mean, the fact that we got to like dig on the internet to find some, literally look up any topic, and like the big newspapers are just as bad. You know what I mean? Like you look up any topic, you're going to get opinion,
mm-hmm.
and no evidence, no objective journalism, no anything. And oh my God, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to try to like find information. And so you have to do all this article jumping. You have to do all of this, like reading in between the lines and comparing notes. And basically, you know what I did for a lot of my prep going into this was literally scrolling down my Facebook and clicking on all the links people were providing. Yeah. And a lot of them were garbage, but a lot of them were useful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, man, why do I have to like crowdsource my news? But I mean, maybe that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, all 4 of the officers were arrested. They were fired. They were fired on Tuesday, the day that this video came out. So all 4 of them were fired.
Well, I don't feel too bad for them, but
yeah. Well, and there are gaps. We don't know what happened because the police officer's body cam footage has not been released yet, as of Sunday, May 31st. As far as I know, the body cam footage hasn't been released, and that will provide the gap of how George Floyd went from being led to a police car to being pinned down on the ground in handcuffs with a knee on the neck. Like, there's a gap in there. We don't know what happened.
Yeah, and it's because, you can make the cops wear body cams, and they're still going to find a workaround. You know what I mean? Like, a corrupt cop is going to find a way.
Maybe
to do what they want to do, and you hope that unless the body cam is literally hooked up to like a live feed, and that live feed is being held by a third party and not by someone in the police department, because I think that the corruption goes beyond 4 guys, right? Like maybe it does, right?
Maybe.
Listen, if I'm the mayor, I'm getting rid of the department. I'm going to restructure it entirely. If for no other reason than to symbolically show people that I'm with them and that I'm going to reestablish order.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go through it and just like interview everybody. And by the way, I was reading a Twitter thread by Michaela Peterson, and I thought she did a good job of kind of summing up some of the things I was thinking.
Like what?
Well, I'll read it and you can tell me how much you agree with it.
Okay.
But the very first point to me was the most important. So, number 1, bad, cruel people gravitate towards positions where they can have power over others.
Agreed.
Just like lots of good people do. That's why you get cruel doctors and teachers and lawyers. You also get cruel policemen.
And politicians.
Yeah. Let's not forget. Number 2, that doesn't mean all policemen are cruel, but it does mean that there are going to be some who have more power over other people than they should in a dangerous way. Hell, the percentage of airport security people who are power drunk individuals is probably the best example. 3, there are racist people out there. If those people are also in positions of power, that's even more dangerous. Mm-hmm. You can't have people that don't think straight in positions of power. Unfortunately, it's impossible to stop that. Don't know if it's impossible, but Number 4, looting and rioting is what desperate, angry people do. The entire world is desperate and angry after being locked up for 3 months. It's no wonder people are more likely to riot now. 5, hurting other people and looting innocent people's stores is also bad and dangerous. Just because there's cruelty in the world doesn't mean you should add to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's the thread.
That's it. Okay. I agree with most of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read the part again about the looters.
Looting and rioting is what desperate, angry people do. The entire world is desperate and angry after being locked up for 3 months. It's no wonder people are more likely to riot now.
I do agree that yes, people, they've been pent up. They've been, forced to stay inside. A lot of them have lost their jobs because their place of business has been shut down. And so people have less to lose if they go looting and rioting. I do not agree that all looters are, what was it? Desperate,
angry.
Desperate, angry. No. The people who are doing rioting, yeah, they're probably desperate and angry. Angry at least. Looters, no. They're opportunists. So one thing we have to distinguish between is 3 different things. The protesters, the rioters, and the looters.
Okay.
They're 3 different things. Most of the people have been just protesting, which is fine. It's peaceful demonstrations. They may be angry, but they're not causing damage or harm. The rioters, rioting is when the protests become violent. It's when you start causing property damage and harm to other people. The looters are the people who are going into businesses and stealing things.
Right.
I support protesting. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I don't advocate rioting, but to me, it's still understandable. Not businesses that had nothing to do with it, but,
right.
Cop cars, for example. I get it.
Throw over some cop cars. I'm 100% on board with that.
But when it comes to looting, no. I have seen so many people on Facebook right now excuse the looters. There's this Martin Luther King Jr. quote going around. Holy crap. Let me find it really quick.
He has a second quote that says the opposite. So, you can make him say whatever we want, right?
Right. So
in fact, it was in the Philip DeFranco show. He showed both quotes.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah. I literally just watched it right before we recorded. So
okay.
It's fresh in my head.
Yeah. Okay. So the one that the one that I've seen that supports looting says, the looting, which is their principal feature, serves many functions. It enables the most enraged and deprived to take hold of consumer goods with the ease the white man does using his purse. But most of all, alienated from society and knowing that this society cherishes property above people, he is shocking it by abusing property rights.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, you're not going to get me to agree on that.
No. That's giving looters way too much credit, okay?
Right in the beginning of our show, we're like, natural rights, right? Life, liberty, property. Yeah, infringing on someone else's property is violating their personal rights.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Even if he did say that, fine. But here's the thing. That was back in the 60s. All right. It was a different time. And he could be accurate based on what he personally saw in the 60s. But that does not apply to what's happening in Minneapolis right now.
Well, he could also just be talking about how the feelings are maybe not justified, but they're understandable. Right? Like, hey, this is what you're doing when you're frustrated, you're angry, the peaceful solution isn't working, and you are just incredibly frustrated. What do?
But that's when you go to rioting. That's when you attack, the people who are responsible. That's not what's happening. You've got businesses that were being broken into and stuff being looted that had nothing to do with George Floyd's death. And it's giving looters way too much credit to say that, they're intentionally trying to shock the system and, they're making us stand. No, they're not. They're opportunists who are looking for a chance to steal stuff.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a lot of that. I mean, you could probably say 1 or 2 guys were, I'm doing this to shock the system. But, you definitely can't say all of them are there to create social change. There was a meme where like this white dude is in the background and he's like stealing an Xbox or something like that. It's like
it was a box of Legos.
That's what it was. Oh yeah, that's right. That's even funnier.
Yeah. It's a picture where you can see a bunch of black guys breaking into the kiosks that have the money in them. And then over on the side, there's this white kid who's probably in his 20s. He's got a mask on, and he's just calmly walking out with a box of Legos under his arm.
Because he could, right? Like, that dude's not thinking about Martin Luther King, right? That dude is like...
none of them are.
Like, now's my chance. Dude, this box is typically $50. Dude, Legos are expensive.
Okay. Yeah.
Not to get too jovial here, but there's definitely a lot of opportunist stuff happening, and you're right. There's a lot of black and white thinking, like you're either with us or you're against us. There's no room for nuance. There is certainly a lot of emotion happening.
Definitely.
I will say though that I am not necessarily against rioting, and I'm not necessarily against all looting of certain targets, but I agree that where do you direct that energy, I think, is important. I don't think that destroying a target saves anything or helps.
No.
The precinct burned down. I applaud that. And that might be a little bit extreme, but like at a certain point, if your rights are being trampled on, it is your duty to alter or abolish it, right? As the Declaration of Independence states. And I think that at least symbolically, destroying the police station, destroying their cars, spray painting on cars, I think that's all justified. And I think, or at least I empathize with it. But, and Target, it's hard to feel too bad for Target because they're insured, they're going to be okay. But they're not the only ones in this scenario being targeted. And there were a lot of small businesses, some being owned by black people also, that also were losing their livelihoods, and they're not as safe.
Right.
They're not going to recover as well. And that certainly doesn't help anyone. That doesn't help their cause.
Well, and with Target, it's like, yeah, the company overall is probably not going to suffer, even though it is a Minnesota-based company. I think it's actually in Minneapolis. But no, okay, Target as a company will be fine. They've got businesses in every state. What's not going to be fine is the people who used to work there, who are now out of a job. That's
true. Now, we're talking about people who's, they're not staking their entire life, hopefully, on that job. Maybe they are.
Most people do.
From like an ownership standpoint, though, like I definitely feel a lot more empathy for those running their like smoke shop or
the small businesses.
Their pizzeria, and they're losing those things. You've got a black man standing outside in one of these videos who's like, that's not right. Those were my dreams.
Yeah.
And that is certainly wrong. Please burn down the cop station. The tax money is going to be okay. They tax us too high anyway. You can destroy all their ill-gotten gains. I'm with you. But pizza does not deserve this.
Did you see the video that I linked about the suspicious guy who broke the windows of the AutoZone?
Wait, I think I maybe did. And I think it was like a cop.
We don't know.
We don't know.
So there's this guy who was dressed this was before the looting started. So he's walking so the video starts where you see this guy, he's just filming the crowd, and then you hear windows breaking. And this guy dressed all in black with a gas mask on, he's holding a black umbrella over his head, and he's got a hammer in his hand, and he's smashing the windows of the AutoZone. And some guy in a pink shirt, he confronts me. He's like, dude, what are you doing? And the guy's just pushing past him. He's continuing to hit the windows with the hammer and break them. The side of the building, it's spray painted in white. It says, free shit for everyone zone. So that was already spray painted on the building before this guy started cracking the windows. This guy in a pink shirt, he's following him. Someone thinks that it's a cop from St. Paul. And they showed a side-by-side picture of the cop and this guy with the face mask. It is not enough to confirm that guy's identity. Yeah. So calling him out, that's dangerous and that's wrong. Because no, the guy who broke the windows, his face is too covered to be able to positively identify him as that police officer. So no. What is suspected and what's more likely is that he is an undercover cop or someone in the military. Because someone in the video yells at this guy as he's retreating. Like he didn't even go back with the protesters. He left the scene. And some guy yells at him, "Are you a cop?" And then the guy yells back, "I'm a civilian." Sure you are. Civilians do not refer to themselves as civilians. Okay?
Yeah, no, they don't typically do that.
They don't. The people who refer to people as civilians are police officers and those in the military. That is how they distinguish us from them.
So are you saying it's too early and unfair to say it is this specific person, but it is likely that it is like a cop or something?
Yeah. Yeah. They're called agent provocateurs.
Right.
It's those who are undercover and they intentionally do things to stir up the crowd and to escalate things. Yeah, no, I don't think that it's the cop. I don't know. You know, the eyes look similar, but that's all you can see from the guy who was masked.
This is not enough to go on.
No, it's not. And so yeah. I can't say that it was that police officer from St. Paul. But I do think it's either an undercover cop or someone from the military. And that is when the looting at AutoZone started. It was after he broke the windows.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I believe it. I mean, I'm totally listen, I don't trust cops. I'll just come out and say it. I agree with Michaela Peterson. I think that you're giving way too much power to one person. And, you know, we have these other articles that we've linked here where we talk about basically the relationship between policemen and non-policemen, civilian, you might say, right? How many legal protections there really are. They don't really have a duty to serve and protect you.
They don't. And that's actually there have been court cases about that. It's been decided. They actually, by law, they do not have a duty to protect you.
Yeah, and you linked something about qualified immunity.
Yes.
Which shields police and government officials when they violate constitutional rights.
Yeah, that's why police can get away with so much. It is something called qualified immunity. And there have been other court cases where police officers have gotten away with stuff because, you know, the specifics of what happened didn't fit what had previously happened. You know, the circumstances were slightly different, and so the police officer gets off. He's off the hook. So, right. Yeah.
And if you can help incite a riot, you can justify your existence, right?
Yeah.
You can, and you know, what have we seen this all lead to? Well, we've seen it lead to martial law.
Yeah, in Minneapolis. There is a curfew set. I think it's 8:00. And there's a video, very brief video, where it shows, I don't know when this was taken. I think it's 14 hours ago. So yesterday on Saturday. So it's a gal who took a video. She's standing on her porch and there are other people out there too. And the film shows a tank rolling down the street and it's, you know, going down that way. And then she pans over and there's probably 24, either police officers or the National Guard. They're coming jogging down the street and they yell at her. They see her and they're like, "Get back in the house." And, you know, like, "Get back in the house." And they didn't. And so someone else, one of the other officers is like, "Light them up." And then the officers shoot them. It's rubber bullets, but they shoot them because they're on their porch watching and they're not inside the house.
And by the way, rubber bullets are incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
They're better than actual, ammo, but they will permanently damage you. They will cause a huge amount of harm. Like, they're not soft.
No, they're not.
I saw one picture of this girl in a hospital. She got shot with a rubber bullet in her head, and there's this huge opening. Like, it's horrifying. Like,
I saw that too.
She's never going to look the same.
Yeah.
I think that if martial law can be called ever, then we are always under martial law to some degree.
There's always the threat of it.
Because, like, what you're basically saying is, not you, Lisa, but,
No, I know, yeah.
What one is saying is that at any point, we can take all these rights away. We can just cut all this out if we need to.
Yeah. Right?
Which means that it's all an illusion.
The illusion that we have rights and power.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because we don't vote for martial law to happen.
No, we don't.
So, if they can declare it when they deem it necessary, do you have rights? No, you have the illusion that you can sit on your front porch, that you can walk down the street, you can go out late at night until they decide you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
That's like a parent taking away their child's privileges.
I've seen posts where, that video, and it's been shared on Facebook. And I've seen some where, like, this is martial law, this is wrong. I've seen other people where it's like, just obey. Just get in the house and you'll be fine. It's like, you're missing the point. The point is they're on their private property and being shot at by the police.
In America, you get to do whatever you want on your front porch. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Come on. You always get to have rights, regardless of what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
And I follow this one guy on Facebook. He's a lawyer. He's black, and he's a very big Second Amendment advocate. He's had a lot to say about this. And he said, this is why the Second Amendment exists. This is why you have a right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, I posted something similar earlier today, just on my personal Facebook.
I don't think I saw it.
Yeah, I just wrote, on an unrelated note, the Second Amendment was never about hunting.
It's not.
It's not about hunting. And this is where we as libertarians come in and we say, well, we don't really trust cops that much either. We at least have a healthy skepticism, and we don't see them as these blue angels or anything like this. These are human beings that are wearing a costume, and they are as fallible as anyone else, but the added problem of them having more power than other people. When they want to take the guns away, who are they going to send to do that? If they ever want to round people up in camps, who do they send to do that? Mm-hmm. Whenever they want to enforce any terrible law. And right now, what we're seeing is them being protected by terrible laws designed to protect them.
Yes.
So that they can do whatever they want, so that the prosecutors can get their guy and they can win their cases, so that the judges will work with them. It's all part of the same network, right? They're co-workers.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to work, you're going to protect each other when you're all co-workers. And yet, is it really impossible to say we couldn't have some degree of privatization of these things, like police? It's like, well, we can't have private police because then all this corruption. Well, listen, how is that different? What is the worst case scenario here? We're experiencing it. This is a problem I'll probably never face, at least not in the same way. I have been pulled over so many times for speeding. I'm frankly not the greatest driver. I will admit it. I'm the only man on earth that will admit to this.
Uh-huh.
But yes, I'm fine. I'm not a world-class driver. I do speed. I get pulled over 50% of the time. I won't even pay. Like, they'll let me off with a warning. I've certainly never been asked to leave my vehicle. I have certainly never been roughed up, pushed around. I guess I was pushed once by a French cop, but that's different.
Were you in France?
I was in France, yes.
Okay.
And I was dressed as a missionary. They already didn't like me.
Uh-huh.
So, not saying I was asking for it, but that was the only time where I was like, hey, what the hell? And that was like, we were on a bus, and he just kind of nudges me out of the way because he's got somewhere important to be, I guess.
Okay.
And I remember being infuriated. I mean, I still remember it now, and this would have happened like over a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, wow, can you imagine like living in a world where the smallest thing could end up getting you killed?
Yeah.
And by the way, it basically doesn't matter what Floyd was doing. I didn't even look it up. I didn't even care.
It's right? Supposedly, he
like
got
forgery
called
or something.
Forgery. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess something passed by, but I didn't go deeper into it because I'm like, it's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Unless he was literally in the act of like raping a child, there is no excuse for this behavior. Mm-hmm. And you can see a lot of conservative news media. They are interested in finding out this guy's dark past.
Yeah, you want to discredit the person if you want to make the cops look good in this situation.
Right, which is, of course, not evidence.
No.
And it's completely irrelevant.
His past is irrelevant. Like, if he resisted arrest, here's the thing about resisting arrest. The cops can call anything resisting arrest. If you talk back to the cop, that's all it takes. It doesn't mean that you are struggling. It doesn't mean that you are running away. No, all you have to do is talk back to the cop, and they can say that you were resisting arrest. And so even they did say he was resisting arrest, but it kind of loses its meaning when you realize that could be anything.
Oh, yeah, it really could be. You see it all the time. Like, if you ever watch any of these other videos where people are filming cops, they totally call everything. You assaulted me. You did this to me. You are resisting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Floyd did resist when he was being pulled out of his vehicle. But after that, from all the video footage that's available, he was cooperative. We don't know how he ended up on the ground. We don't know that part. Body cam footage should show it. But we'll see what that shows. But we don't know. But it almost doesn't matter because he was in handcuffs on the ground, and having a knee pressed on your neck is absolutely unnecessary.
You know what's sad about that, though? Well, I mean, okay, other than the obvious,
right,
is they're actually trained to do that. Like in that area where they are, one of the articles I read up on, what they say, like kneeling on your neck is one of the things they teach him to do. And so, like, the corruption goes even deeper than just this guy.
Well, I'm not sure if that's true or not. The mayor, when he had one of the press conferences, he said, this is not one of the things that our officers are trained to do.
Yeah, I don't think he's telling the truth, or he doesn't know.
Well, I'm not sure. We'd have to look into it.
Yeah,
we'd have to look into that further. I'm not sure. But
I think that is a police hold that is taught. Now, I don't think they're supposed to hold it for 8 minutes.
No.
And maybe that's the difference, but...
especially not once the guy's unconscious. Once he's unconscious, he is no longer a threat. But the guy kept his knee on his neck for an extra 4 minutes after he went unconscious.
Because Chauvin is totally psychotic. Dude, the guy is like a mindless killer. Like, I don't know if it's psychopathic or sociopathic. It's one of those.
It would be psychopathic.
Yeah, but that dude did not give a damn.
Nope.
When you look in his face, he does not give the damn. And Tao, his partner, he did not give a damn. Neither of them cared. The badge is the problem. Like, it's not the only problem, obviously. And
right.
And race probably does play a part. Probably a big part. But power corrupts. And I think we all know that, right?
Yeah.
And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And like Peterson is saying here, when you're looking at jobs to sign up for and to train for, if you're the kind of person that likes abusing power, then you're probably not going to pick nurse.
Right.
Maybe we should have police. Sure. If we want to have domestic tranquility, you have to have law enforcement. But that means they have to be held to an incredibly high standard.
Yeah, I think we need to get rid of the laws that protect them from being held accountable. So the qualified immunity, that needs to go. Because even if it wasn't intended to be used this way, it is being used this way. And so it needs to be revised or gotten rid of.
Their training needs to be completely altered. It needs to be supervised. Or we need to allow competing firms of police to show the best possible methods. And which is why I'm at least for the experimentation of private policemen. So I'm not saying that let's make all policemen private. I'm saying let's try it in a few areas and let's watch what happens. And let's definitely make sure that if we did so, they're not all in the same company. They need to be in competing firms. So, that's about as Mises as I'm going to get right now.
Yeah. I'm not, I haven't thought about how that could be possible, but it's an option.
It's an option. Let's try some stuff because this isn't working, right? We've been seeing this kind of thing happen way too often. And this is one of the more egregious cases because we have such well done video evidence by our non-journalists.
Yeah.
This is who we're relying on. We're relying on people to provide journalism. Random girls with their Facebooks are better than Anderson Cooper.
Well, they're busy showing all the protests and riots going on around the country. They've moved on from Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah.
They're not showing martial law being applied in Minneapolis. They're not showing the good stuff either. I saw a Facebook post where there are pictures of the community in Minneapolis coming together and they're cleaning up. They're getting rid of the graffiti that was spray painted on the side of the buildings. They're sweeping up after, all the mess that was made. The community is coming together. The mainstream media is not showing that either.
One thing that was very heartening that I saw along those lines was, during some of these looting and rioting, a group of people wearing guns standing in front of businesses protecting them. And not just white guys, black guys too, and they're all properly socially distancing, right? They're about 6 feet apart. They've got their masks on, but it was cool to see black and white people standing together carrying AR-15s. To me, that's a comforting thing. Yeah.
But then you've got other stories where those people are being attacked.
Yeah, we've seen that too. We saw a guy get lynched for trying to protect his own business.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then you've got more arguments about, how much business owners should be allowed to protect their businesses. Like, there's a lot going on.
Well, see, the weird thing about that is police are supposed to protect them.
Yeah.
This is what we've been saying as Second Amendment advocates for so long. Number one, you cannot trust the government. We have a Second Amendment, and it's not for hunting.
No, it never was for hunting.
It is for shooting cops, and it is for shooting soldiers. That is what it's for.
And it is for protecting your family and your property.
If you do not have a Second Amendment, the rest of the Bill of Rights are irrelevant.
Yeah.
They're all make-believe.
You have no way to protect yourself.
Exactly. So it all just becomes lip service.
Yep.
And if you think that violent protestation is the answer because nonviolent protestation hasn't worked, welcome to the Second Amendment. That is what it's for. Yes, of course, the American colonists said, hey, we're not happy with what's happening. They started out peaceful. Okay. And then they started going into more and more violent means until it was actual warfare.
Yeah.
At some point, we do accept in our Lockean social contract that we are going to fight against oppressors. So we don't vote out all of our problems. We don't protest out all of our problems. At some point, you pick up the gun and you fight.
Well, and here's where I have a big problem, is when some of these protesters are targeting random people. So I saw a video from the East San Jose in the Bay Area in California, where protesters were blocking traffic on the freeway, and they were trying to force people out of their vehicles, and they were smashing windows, trying to get people out of the vehicles and just destroy the vehicles. Those are thugs.
That does not help.
Those are thugs. Like, those type of people are using this as an excuse to harm other people and their property. And that is unacceptable. And that's kind of what's pissing me off about all these protests around the country. There are protests in so many states, so many of the major cities. First of all, I don't see what good those protests are going to do, because those cities weren't at fault. They had nothing to do with what's going on in Minneapolis. But when those are turning into violence and riots, it's stupid. Because you're creating problems around the country that had nothing to do with what just happened.
Sure.
So especially those thugs out in the East Bay, East San Jose, who are pulling people out of their cars and smashing their windows. You know, I probably would have gotten out of my car and punched the asshole. Because I know how to fight. And,
sure,
you know, I'm not going to put up with that stuff. I wish that other cities around the country would have vigils, that they would have peaceful vigils that show support for what happened in Minneapolis, to show support for George Floyd and his surviving family members. But to start protesting and rioting your own police departments who had nothing to do with it, I don't agree with that. I think it's a waste of time, and I think you're risking violence in your own city, which is not what should happen. You're putting your own city and your own family, your own neighborhoods at risk for nothing. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with some of that. I will probably lightly disagree with some of that. Just to the extent that I do think that there is value in other cities protesting. And again, you made the distinction earlier between protesting, looting, and rioting. And I think that's an important distinction. I think you're right to say that. I think it is good for people to go out and do marches and to say, hey, we are not happy with the death of George Floyd specifically. We're not happy with the systematic killing of black men.
Right.
We're not happy with the sort of inherent corruption of policing and the laws that protect them that we were just talking about. I'm definitely not for walking around on the freeway and smashing people's windows. 100% on your team. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that is bad. That is opportunism. Maybe it's frustration, but it's misplaced frustration.
That's not frustration. No, they're thugs.
You know what? I'm also careful with that word.
I don't throw that word around lightly. I don't. But people they're not even at the police stations. You know, if you're pissed off at the police, at the system, go protest there. But these people were stopping traffic on the freeway. People minding their own business, just trying to get where they got to go. They've stopped traffic and they're trying to pull people out of their vehicles and they're smashing up their vehicles. Those are thugs.
All I'm saying is that some people, I think, could get angry enough to do unreasonable, stupid things. And some of them are opportunists. I will agree with that. I think, we don't want to paint any one group as having one idea, right?
No, I'm basing it off of the individual people that I saw who were smashing up windows.
Yeah. I don't like that either.
Not all the people there were doing that. You know, all the people who were stopping traffic were protesting, but not all of them were smashing windows and trying to drag people out of their vehicles. But the ones that were, no, they're not being angry at the system. They're trying to cause people harm. That's where my distinction is drawn.
Sure. And I'm certainly not going to say they're justified. I am not saying that either way.
Okay.
That's wrong. I'm just saying some people could be like, now's my chance to cause mayhem. And some people could be, I'm so angry, I'm literally going to just destroy something. They're both wrong. That's all I'm saying. And maybe it's a pointless distinction to even make. But, I'm just going to say that. So anyway, I'm for the marches. I'm glad to see that we don't give a damn about social distancing anymore. That's fun. That disappeared, right? We all just were like, never mind.
Well, I was glad to see a lot of people were wearing masks, but that's because they don't want to be identified. And that's smart.
Yeah, I want to know what Fauci thinks about all this right now. That's what I'm curious about.
Anthony Fauci?
Yeah. Just like, God. Oh, God, this is not what I told you all to do. Please stop. Oh, my God. I just can't. I would just say to my brothers and sisters out there that are frustrated about this situation, we've been on the opposite sides of a lot of things, like in terms of our political philosophy. Maybe take a second look at what we're offering here in terms of being suspicious of government itself, at least being skeptical of it, being skeptical of police power and strength, and reevaluating what their relationship with citizens are supposed to be and what kind of thing they're going to be held to. The importance of the Second Amendment, I think, is incredibly apparent right now. And I think being able to re-examine what is our social contract? What does that actually look like? And what are our rights and obligations on both sides? That's very important. That's something that we're offering to you. By the way, we have a lady to vote for. So just throw that out there. Just throwing it out there.
Jo Jorgensen has been...
Jo Jorgensen.
She's been named the Libertarian Party presidential candidate.
That's right. So there you go. You want to see change? There you go. Let's vote a lady in. Hey, if you care about the gender rights, here they are. You want to have your lady president no matter what, regardless of what she thinks or believes? Now is your chance. Get together with us, the libertarians, to fight against oppression and tyranny. Not Target. Mm-hmm. Vote for Jo Jorgensen. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. And let's work on getting these laws changed. Pressure your congressmen, your legislators, get these laws changed so that police officers don't have the qualified immunity that they currently have. The way that you make police officers more responsible and more accountable for their actions is if they don't have unjust laws to hide behind. They have to keep themselves and each other in check. And don't ignore the good stuff that's happening too. You got, in Minneapolis, you got martial law going on, but you've also got people who are getting together as a community and they're cleaning up. That makes me feel better. I'm going to take another month off of Facebook starting tomorrow because this has been too much.
It's been a lot, for sure. Yeah.
I need it. I'm done with Facebook for another month. But I've seen some good. I've seen a lot of bad, but I've also seen some good. Don't lose sight of the good. It's out there. You do have people who care about the community. Support them and help them.
So what'd you do fun this week?
Chatting with some friends was fun. That's it.
Yeah.
Kids had their last week of school, and I was so distracted by all that's happening in Minneapolis that, I was only half here. Because my husband and I lived near Minneapolis for 2 years when we were first married. And so this is hitting kind of close to home because I used to live there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, watched a couple movies. But for the most part, no. I've been trying to mentally just get through this last week of school so I can stop thinking about my kids' schooling. And, I've been focused on what's been going on.
Things definitely got a lot better once our school year ended. It's funny. Like, school is in the way of the relationship between you and your children. It's like, as soon as the year ended, my wife started gardening like you were gardening.
Oh, yeah.
She started, like, really building out the backyard. The kids have been helping. They've been a big part of it. And like, how much more are they learning? And how much more are we all happy now that we're not like in this like state-sponsored pseudo prison anyway? I guess there's just no way to have fun or be happy this week. But
have you been spending more time with your kids now that school's done?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of things differently, actually. I joined the Noom program.
What's that?
Which is like a weight loss lifestyle app. Mm-hmm. And I'm down almost 9 pounds so far in the last couple weeks, I guess.
Nice.
And it's been really positive. I've been exercising, actually. I've been counting my calories. I've been walking to the grocery store to get my steps in. Mm-hmm. I get like a couple of things for a new recipe I just learned that is low cal. And then I cook it, or my wife helps me. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing some of that stuff with my kids, like having them, just taking my oldest on a walk to go to the store. Like that's been really nice.
Good.
Even though it's blazing hot Arizona and we want to die by the time we get back, I have to put sunscreen like all over the place because I'm ginger and I burn indoors.
That's right.
But it's nice. I was like, okay, I gotta go figure out what a fennel seed is because this recipe calls for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you even have this? Like, who do I talk to? But I did. I found them. Yeah. Turns out I don't care for them, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, now you know.
I know. I've tried out a few new things, and anyway, I've just been largely less unhappy, less stressed out. Mm-hmm. Sleep is starting to improve slowly, though I'm still making some irresponsible decisions. Mm. And weight's going down a bit. Energy's going up. Strength is going up.
Good.
So a lot of positives. Feeling good.
Yeah, good for you.
And then all this shit happened, and so it made it hard. I will admit, I completely dived into video games yesterday because I had to think about something else. Mm-hmm. Kind of like you needing to get off Facebook. It's like I need to.
Yep.
I need to go shoot orcs for a while.
Yeah. Well, for me this week, I've been getting more stuff done. So, not only is the kids' schooling done, that's a big weight off my mind. I'm going to start teaching them some stuff over the summer, but I'm waiting a week, so they have just a full week of nothing to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But just thinking about, what happened with George Floyd and me putting myself in that situation, what would I have done if I had been one of the bystanders? And that mentality has been a shift for me. There's been so much here that I've got little clutter spots here and there, stuff that I've been putting off doing. I pulled out my to-do list and I've been going through it because I'm tired of feeling passive. And so, it's not like I'm out there protesting, but I'm in Texas. So no, I'm not going to go out and protest, but, no, I've been getting stuff done in my personal life. All the things I've been putting off, I'll do it later. I've got other stuff to do for now. No, I'm getting stuff done. So that's been kind of nice, a much more proactive mentality as opposed to reactive, passive, and procrastinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of that on Facebook for sure.
A lot of what?
Just reactive thinking, just my contribution is being outraged.
Yeah.
Not doing something about my life.
Yeah.
I think that's good that you're doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I didn't do it on purpose. It just, happened. But that's been good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that things are working out for you too.
Yeah, I hope they continue. I feel pretty good about it, but
good.
I don't know. I've had diets before, so we'll see how it goes.
Sure.
Okay, so where can people find us?
You can find us at Libertatheists. If you're on YouTube and BitChute, we changed our name. So, like I said, the videos are going to be out of order. We used to be governing ourselves. We're now Libertatheists. Anyway. Yep. You can now find us on Libertatheists on Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, and Stitcher. We have videos to go along with our earlier episodes on BitChute and YouTube, and I am going to start back up uploading more. And to contact us, we are on Facebook and Twitter.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.